Guys, and
Hello.
welcome back to Carchatters. You join myself, Chris, and Aaron for episode 11.
Howdy.
Oh, it's been mental. It has been mental considering
Yeah.
we've done 11. Well, it's going to be 11th episode now. As you can see by the title, it's a crazy one.
We got a big one. We got a big one.
We've got the one and only Rory Reid on. So, without further ado, let's bring him in and get started. Before we do, a big thank you to everyone that has been supporting the channel of recent. It's been great. I'm trying to keep consistent as much as possible. I'm enjoying it. It's actually really good. Despite obviously doing car chatters as well, I'm actually starting to do normal videos once again, and Aaron's going to be joining that again soon with many surprises that he has on the way. Enough waffling. Let's bring in the legend himself. Here he is. Hello, my man. How you doing?
I'm very good, very good. How are you guys?
Yeah, very good.
Good, thank you. Yeah, I've gone back to work today, so that's a bit surprising on a Friday. But we have to get to some form of normality sooner rather than later. But
it doesn't. Yeah. I'm sweating my nuts off. It's it's mental.
Yeah, it's stifling in this flat. I may as well be sat in a sauna. I think I'd actually be colder if I was sat in a sauna right now. But hey, I'm wearing a white t-shirt, so hopefully that will reflect some of the heat, and I'll try and stay cool as I can.
I like the studio. What are you sitting in currently?
I can turn on the air conditioning when I get too hot. I probably will.
Yeah.
What are you in at the moment?
I'm in my X5. It's
Nice.
the family car.
Nice little office to be sitting in.
Yeah.
I've just got the mother-in-law's crap sitting behind me, so yeah, not too spectacular.
Yeah, I've got like a ladder just there. This is my spare bedroom / dumping ground / office / editing suite. Anyway, enough about our environments. Let's get on to some questions because that's what people are here to watch. Now, I do want to start things on a more serious note. Don't worry, guys, there will be some car content coming. But of course, the recent events surrounding George Floyd, there is a lot of talking about race issues, of course, Black Lives Matters. And Rory, I approached you a long time ago whilst you were still doing Top Gear. I've been waiting for this opportunity for so long to speak about this kind of issue.
Yes.
Yeah. Banging on about this. He's been banging on about this for ages, and it's finally here.
Yeah, so I think now's a good time to speak about this kind of issue, particularly as this was one of the things I wanted to speak about quite some time ago, and that is, I remember going to an award ceremony which was for motoring writers. Not that I would class myself as a motoring writer. I think that'd be overestimating myself somewhat. But I turned up, albeit early, and I don't want to cause any offence here, but I was looking around, and I was the only person of colour there. And okay, when the evening kicked off, there were 2 other people of colour, so there were some kind of ratio, as it were. But I looked around thinking, wow, there's a lot of people. They're all mostly men in their kind of middle ages, and they're white. I thought, how is it I think this was 2017, so not that long ago. How is it in this day and age that there isn't more diversity in the kind of motoring journalism scene? And that's a question that I've been dying to ask you for literally years.
I mean, Aaron, I can't give you a definitive answer, but I
Yeah.
can tell you that I've experienced the same thing throughout my career. Even before I got into motoring journalism, I started out in gaming journalism and then technology journalism, and then moved over to automotive. Like 3 of my passions, basically. But the core of my passions was always writing, was always journalism.
Yeah.
And moving from different fields, from field to field, it gave me this insight that I think journalism as a whole is massively dominated by older white men. That's the typical stereotypical person that is involved in that industry. And it raises a couple of questions, really. Why is it that that's the cardboard cutout, if you will, of the stereotypical person who works in that industry? I think one of the reasons is that people outside of that, when you see a bunch of men in a room doing a certain job and you don't look like them, you don't think that you fit into that automatically. So there'll be lots of boys there'll be lots of boys and girls out there who don't see anybody that they identify with doing a particular job. So they don't think that job is for them. So it could work in any industry. It could be a boy growing up looking at astronauts or firemen, and if there's not a kid that looks like him in that field, then they automatically think, well, maybe it's not for me. And they might look at other fields where they might look at other fields where it's dominated by people who look like them and think, right, I'm going to get into that field. And typically, you know, certainly where you find most successful Black figures who are looked up to as idols, you'll find them in the entertainment sphere. So music,
rappers, R&B stars.
Exactly. So there's a sore lack of role models who are people of color in quite a lot of industries, especially in the journalism industry. The second issue, I think, probably comes down to systemic racism. And what I mean by systemic racism is when you have an industry that's dominated by a particular person, a particular
race or particular creed.
Yeah. Whenever they're hiring new people to come into that industry, I think there's an unconscious bias, but also a conscious bias to hire people who look like you.
Yeah.
So I think it's sometimes harder for people who work in that industry and have a position of power to say, I'm going to give a young Black kid a chance, when that would be the only young Black kid in the entire industry.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's in the back of their mind, they might think, well, he might not fit in with us down the pub, for example, or he might not get our jokes, or he might not dress like us, or he's too much of a character that we can't identify with, so he wouldn't fit into our circle. So even if they're not deliberately saying, even if they're not deliberately being overtly racist, there's that subconscious bias.
They're doing it without even thinking about it. They're just
Exactly. And that is one big aspect of systemic racism. When I say that, it means the system is set up to not give people who aren't in that particular race as an equal chance to break into that. So I think there's two sides to the coin. One is, if you don't look like the people who are already doing it, then you're less likely to do it. And if you do want to do it, then the people who are in that position of power might not let you in.
Job.
Because you look like them.
It's difficult, and that's why I think you are definitely an inspiration for people of our ethnic background to do what you do. Because when the BBC dropped you, I'm not going to get into that, but when BBC made the decision not to carry you forward, I was dumbfounded. I even said to you, I think the BBC made a massive mistake. But of course, you've now moved onto other things. You went to Carchatters. Now you're running the scene at Auto Trader, of course. But we will speak about Auto Trader as well, so it's obviously a large part of what you're doing now. But I just want to take my phone out and just, of course, we want to get into cars, but you spoke a few days ago on Twitter in regards to some of your experience. So I read, if a car company's employee racially discriminated against you 10 years ago, and now the company want you to test their new car, what do you do? Decline? Review it as normal, hoping their views don't reflect theirs. Hoping her views don't reflect theirs, or serve revenge cold with a very keen eye on their car's many flaws. So although it's fair to say you've had a lot of success from what you do, even someone like yourself, it isn't impervious, I suppose is the way to put it, for these kind of situations. I know that happened a long time ago, but that must still kind of hurt.
I mean, I was really keen to see the responses to that tweet, and
got quite a lot of response from it.
Yeah,
as well.
202 comments. Well, 202 replies.
It was very eye-opening to see people's take on that. So there were a few different responses. One was, and I'm going to paraphrase these, but one was, "You've made it now. Like, be the better person. Move on."
Yeah.
Another one would be, "Don't stoop to their level." And another one would, the other one, which I found really funny, was serve revenge cold. Those are the ones that made me smile the most. But just going back to the general topic, I'm not going to get into the specifics of
course, and I wouldn't expect you to, because obviously you want to keep things private and you don't want to mention any names. I'm not going to push you for any names.
I might call them out at some stage. But,
hey, you heard it here first. There might be shots fired.
I might fire some shots. But no, I think so of course I'm not impervious to racism. Listen, when I was a kid, I was one of the first boys in my group, in my friendship group, at the age of 17 years old, who had a car, and I was lucky enough to have multiple cars. They weren't nice cars; they were all shit boxes. And the reason I had multiple cars was because I loved cars, and I loved feeling what different cars were all about, and I was just into it. And also, they all broke down at some stage. So my Monday car might be the Volkswagen Polo, my Tuesday car might be the XR2i, my Wednesday car might be the Yugo. So I had to keep moving these cars around.
Did you do a scale of what one was the shittest to the least shittest?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Unfortunately, the one that was most reliable was also the least desirable. But
Go on.
it was a Yugo.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Oh no!
but it was a horrible car, but it never broke down. But anyway,
it did it just to spite you as well. You know that.
Yeah.
Definitely. I modified it quite a lot. It ended up being quite fast, that little thing. But it was terrible. But anyway, I used to get stopped by the police like on a pretty much a weekly basis.
Wow.
And I remember when my friends got their licenses, who weren't people of color, they didn't have the same experience as me.
Yeah.
So there's and a lot of people now. I'm older, and I speak to people about those particular experiences. They're shocked because I speak to people in my friendship group now who have never been stopped by police ever in their entire lives. So they're like, when they hear that I've been pulled over dozens upon dozens of times, and by the way, I've never had any points on my license, no criminal record, nothing at all. So it's not stuff that I was doing wrong.
Yeah.
You can connect the dots.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's I'm definitely not impervious to racism. Certainly, just in general life. But also, certainly not in my career either, because there are companies out there who, either through unconscious bias or conscious bias, who hold things against you. And it's, someone said something really thought-provoking to me, which was, again, it was kind of, he was kind of saying, you've made it now, so what are you upset about?
I saw that comment, and I read it and thought, he's missing the point completely. I saw that. I thought, I kind of shook my head when I read it, because I thought, that's not the point Rory's trying to make here.
Yeah. I think I replied to him something like, don't think about where I am now. Think about where I could have been, or think about how hard it was for me to get to this point, and could it have been easier?
Yeah.
Overcome those obstacles.
And I think, and that's the problem. People like that don't actually understand how bad racism is, and like nowadays it can be hidden so well, and people, can get away with it as well, so much easier than what it used to be. But it is.
A lot of people don't even know they're racist, and they don't class themselves as racist, but they have these biases against people for unconscious reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, like it could be like an old lady crossing the street when I'm walking down the same pavement as her.
Yeah.
Like that's a bias against me because of the way I look, because of who I am.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't go home and class themselves as a racist. And there's a lot of people in society who have these, like hidden agendas and these hidden biases. And it ultimately does affect other people's lives, sometimes catastrophically, in the case of maybe a police officer kneeling on a man's neck for 8.5 minutes, or someone who is in charge of hiring at a company not giving someone an opportunity. But it's out there, and I really do hope that the recent incidents that came as a result of the tragic, killing of George Floyd do inspire people. I want them to at least look at the wider society and see that things aren't right, and at least hear people's voices, because even if you don't believe that there's that much racism, surely you must be able to understand that people are out there saying that they feel a certain way for a reason. There's a reason behind it. So at least open your mind to it and consider what actions you can take to to help make people people's lives easier.
It's all about education. It's all about educating yourself. Actually, people going out of their way to try and understand what it's like to be in someone in our kind of shoes. And to a certain degree, I can't speak fully on that experience because I'm mixed race. I'm not full black. You know, my dad's side of the family are white, so I can't say I can have the full experience, but at the same time, I've seen some white journalists try and criticise the Black Lives Matter movement and saying how that it's kind of gone a bit over the top and this and that. I think, well, hang on. At the end of the day, you haven't lived in a black person's shoes. Therefore, it's very difficult for you to have an opinion, or indeed a strong opinion, on what this movement is trying to do. But of course, there will be a lot of opinions. Some of them will be credible. Some of them will be complete nonsense. Some are worth listening to. Some aren't. And it's very easy to get overwhelmed in a lot of noise at the moment.
Yeah, it's tough. It's, to me, it's just sad, really. I mean, I do see people saying the Black Lives Matter movement has gone too far. People responding with White Lives Matter.
Yeah, well, look at the Burnley incident.
It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science at the end of the day. If one group of people are suffering and you show support for that group of people who are suffering, that doesn't mean the group of people who are not suffering don't deserve to be helped if they need help as well. Yeah. So it's I mean, anyone who approaches me with the argument of White Lives Matter, I'm sorry, but you need to understand what the core of the problem is. It's not that your life doesn't matter. It's that there's a whole bunch of other lives that need help more than you right now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it breaks down to.
Yeah, I think some people, they read Black Lives Matter and think, oh, so it's just Black lives that matter, no one else. It's like, no, you're choosing to have that opinion. No, don't be silly. You know full well that's not the intention here. But some people, they want to have their own agenda, which is sad, really. But that's the way of life.
Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone has one.
Yes, yeah.
Moving on, we're going to come away from it now.
Yeah, this is something I could speak about for hours. But let's speak about cars. So we've got some other questions prepared for you.
So we can't not have you on and not talk about Top Gear. So for me, I followed you way before you joined Top Gear. And when I found out that you were going to be on Top Gear, I was like, oh my God, it's crazy to think someone from YouTube is going on to, well, a worldwide TV show.
Arguably the world's biggest car show.
Yeah, definitely. So
they say it's the biggest.
Yeah. So what was it like transitioning from YouTube to Top Gear? Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the stuff that you did, you kind of had a small editing team around you, and obviously you had the camera, you filmed yourself with a car, and then going to Top Gear where you've got mountains of camera crews doing all sorts of things, and you kind of probably got lost in it at the start. What was it like?
Actually, it was really easy because I wasn't doing anything different. I was getting in a car, I was driving, and I was talking. That was my job. Yeah. It wasn't like I was one day I was a juggler and then the next day I had to become a chef. It was like the job involved either standing next to or driving in a car and telling people how I felt about it. So the actual work.
And that's what I think I was so excited about, because you're so good on camera. You can present a car. It's almost a car, any car you get in, it has a character and you can portray it. And yeah, it was just every car you told had a story almost. And that's what attracted me to you so much. A lot. Yeah. And it was, it was wicked to see. And
that's what you can tell the people who kind of live and breathe it, because, you know, if you let's put it this way. I got the job through an audition process. So I believe I was told about 15,000 people applied for it.
I remember that. A lot of people
including me.
Yeah, they uploaded on YouTube their like audition tape to BBC. Yeah,
everybody in the industry pretty much.
Yeah,
right? And even the ones that say they didn't, like at least considered it. Yeah. So it was a bit of a minor miracle to go through the odds of like 15,000 to 1 basically, but the reason it happened was because I wasn't doing anything new. I wasn't faking it. I wasn't pretending. It was my day job anyway. So like I said, when it came down to actually doing the work, it was just another day at the office. What was strange was just doing it in front of a bigger crowd. Like me and a camera, no problem whatsoever. Like you turn a bunch of cameras on me, and I'll do my thing all day long.
Yeah.
I remember my first day ever doing the live studio. Actually, I'll rewind a little bit because that wasn't even that. It was a bit nerve-wracking, but the first time I was ever in front of a big audience for Top Gear was at a thing called BBC Showcase, which is this event in Manchester where the BBC show off their forthcoming series to a bunch of TV buyers who are going to buy shows for overseas markets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big arena, and basically the presenters were going to drive out in cars and then be interviewed by Chris Evans. So Chris Evans drove out, then Matt LeBlanc drove out, then Chris Harris drove out, then I think it was me next. And I drove out. What was I in? I was in a Lambo. I was in an Aventador.
Nice.
And,
typical Rory car.
Good way to make an entrance. I'm here. Don't worry, Rory's here.
And I was so chilled. Honestly, I was like, this is nothing. And I parked up, but there was some delay happening, and it took ages for Matt to call me out. I was going to talk to Matt for Matt to introduce me to the crowd.
Yeah.
And I got like, as I was waiting there, sat in the car, I sort of got into my own head, like, what is happening here? There's hundreds of people in the audience, all staring at this Lamborghini with me inside. And none of them have ever seen me before. They're all TV buyers from around the world. And the success of the show hinges on whether they like us or not. And I'm like one of the guys that has got to like come off in a way that makes them think, right, we should buy Top Gear for China or whatever.
Yeah.
And my heart started to race. It was crazy. And I felt sick. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get out of this Lambo when he says my name. I'm going to throw up over Joe. I remember thinking, I've got to find a way to calm myself down. So I pulled out my phone and I just started, I got kids. So I started just browsing through pictures of my kids and just putting myself in my own house, in my garden, and it just chilled me out completely.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was fine. But yeah, doing it from that moment had passed. Doing live studio audiences with like 800 people watching, it just became kind of like second nature. I was always really comfortable in front of a crowd and always comfortable in front of cameras. So because
I had the opportunity to stand right next to you when you was doing a live audience with the Club Sport S. So I raved about the car like ages, and I didn't have enough time to order one because it came out so quickly, and then it just sold out so quickly. And then obviously we get to the live audience. I see a Club Sport S in the main tent or whatever you call it, and I was like, oh my God, they're doing a Club Sport S review or whatever. And then it happened to be you doing the review around the Nürburgring. I was like, oh my God, this is mental. And
Did you get a bit excited, Chris? Did you have to change your underwear?
I'm fanboying right now. But, and that was a question I was going to relate to afterwards, was how you filmed and how you felt filming in front of a live audience, because there's a difference between filming and then putting it on YouTube and then having actual people standing around you where they can actually feel you and see what you're doing. Because obviously there was obviously times where you'd muck up lines, and that's obviously what the people that watch it on TV don't see. But for us, it's quite funny, and it adds a little bit more of an experience to it.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think I mucked up lines though.
No, you're just saying that. You're just saying that to impress everyone.
I don't remember. No, I'm pretty good. I might muck up the odd one, but we do multiple takes. So I'll do a take and I'll go, right, do another one, and we'll choose the best one out of the two. I wasn't the most notorious for.
LeBlanc was bad. LeBlanc was quite bad.
More Harris at the start, to be fair.
There you go. Yeah. But no, it was fun. The only big difference between Top Gear and YouTube, I would say, is the number of people involved in making sure that they're happy with the end product.
Yeah.
You get dozens of people watching this clip that you make, and they're all going, oh, I don't like that music, I don't like that shot, move that around, change this, change that, and then they'll have a version 1, and then there'll be a version 2, and it could be like a version 13 of a film before it goes out live. And then even then, when you watch it in the studio as a live audience member, it can still get changed again after that before it actually goes on TV.
Oh really?
I didn't know that. It was just the level of the number of chefs involved in cooking the meal
Yeah.
was way over and above what you'd find on a typical YouTube production.
And
way,
did that
way
frustrate
above,
you?
I was gonna say, and way above normal TV as well. So I've done TV shows apart from Top Gear, and it's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top Gear is another animal entirely. Did it frustrate me? No, the post-production side of it didn't frustrate me. Sometimes the pre-production side did, because you can come up with an idea and have a script, and then you go and film it, and then during the filming, either something goes wrong or someone decides, let's not do it like this, let's do it like this, and then you got to, like, all the plans change, and you've got to do something, you know, different to how you would kind of envisaged it in your head.
Yeah.
But that's why you got to be able to think on your feet and improvise sometimes, both in terms of the producers making up new ideas on the fly if they suddenly think of something better or something is not going to work as they expected, but also as a presenter. But yeah, it's I see it as a fun challenge. Really, it's hard. It's definitely hard because you got to do all of that while driving, and
Yeah.
it's tough. But yeah, it's also rewarding.
Yeah, and you always seem to be in Wales when you're doing films, so you're on like some challenging roads all the time, which is obviously no bad thing, of course. But yeah, it's not like you're on a racetrack everything you filmed like Harris was.
Yeah, to be honest, it doesn't matter where you are. It's hard. It's hard. Because what people don't see is how close you come to the camera cars. And this is the part of the job I love the most, by the way. It's not the talking or the driving. It's the dicing with the camera car. We had this shout out to Ian May. Ian May is the guy who owns this Russian Arm, which is a pickup truck with a huge crane on the back, really, and it moves around like a big eye from the Flight of the Navigator. And the trick to getting really cool shots is to drive really close to the camera, and it's like doing a ballet, 2 cars at high speed, and whether that's on a road or a track, it's such a thrill because you're doing precision driving, talking, trying to like destroy this Russian arm that's inches away from you. And sometimes, you know, it'll involve drifting past the arm and things like that, and the car's like on the edge of control. And it was that was the bit that I found like most. Yeah,
that's what I loved about when you hosted Extra Gear. It showed you things you'd never see before, and it was a great experience to see that. And
it was good. It was good. There were some good experiences there that I took away and learned a lot, definitely.
I'm going to leave my Top Gear questions with, what was it like to work with Joey and Harris? Did you actually know when you got picked for being on Top Gear? Did you know that you would be working with LeBlanc and Harris?
Yeah, I knew beforehand. Harris was at my audition as well. He was he was there. I think, was he doing an audition? Either he was doing his audition again because his camera's messed up. It wasn't a public.
That old chestnut.
It wasn't a public audition, but it was like a screen test. I think he was doing, and I was there doing my screen test. And I thought, right, so it's me versus Chris Harris to get this Top Gear job. Savvy. But it ended up being the two of us who did it. What was it like working with them? I mean, it was all right. I think me and them are like, I think we're quite different people. And because of Matt's schedule and the fact that he doesn't live in the UK, he was quite often flying in and then flying back. So there wasn't a lot of time for
socializing,
like, out and socializing or anything like that. You rock up, you do your job, and then he's off, I'm off, Monkey's off. So it was, a lot of people perceive like the life of a Top Gear presenter to be like 3 buddies just chilling out, sitting in the pub, getting pissed up, coming up with stupid ideas. But that's literally just the TV side of it. I can't speak for the guys who came before us, but certainly in our case, unless they didn't invite me to the pub, then no, like it wasn't.
It's interesting you say that, because me and Aaron have spoke about it many times and said that because you were all 3 of you were so different, it actually gelled the show like really well.
It was a good trio.
Yeah,
I'm not just saying that because you're here. Genuinely, I thought you, LeBlanc, and Harris worked really well. I thought it was quite a formidable setup.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. If I have, one thing I kind of regret, and I kind of disagree with some of the directions that they went in on the production side, was that we didn't do enough films together, the three of us.
Yeah.
Because the films that we did together as a threesome, I think were really cool. There was the one that we went to Kazakhstan to watch the rocket launch.
Yeah.
That was so cool. We went to America to test. It was test supercars. I was in a Jag.
Oh, is that when you were in your pants, wasn't it?
No, that was another one. That was a solo test. That one. That was
yeah.
at Willow Springs. But I had a Jag. Chris had a McLaren, and Matt had a Mustang, a Shelby Mustang.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, so the ones that we did as a threesome, I think worked really well. But there's various reasons why we didn't do more. When I write the book, I'll explain.
No, he's writing a book. Oh no.
But yeah, no, the experience was. I think it was an experience of a lifetime. Like, not many people get to do this.
Yeah.
Touching back on the first things we spoke about, Aaron, about not seeing many people of color do automotive journalism or journalism at all.
Yeah.
To be doing it at such a high level on the flagship show is basically unheard of. So I count my blessings, but I also say to anyone who's at all interested in my career or inspired by what I do, a lot of it is down to hard work and just trying to stay focused and persevering. But yeah, it was cool. I learned a lot, and I've taken that forward into what I'm doing now. So if you see some of my videos right now, they're for me, they're Top Gear 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah, that leads us quite nicely onto Auto Trader, which is obviously you're now heading up the YouTube division of Auto Trader. How have you found that? Because I imagine that you've kind of gone from one extreme to the other, whereby when you're doing Top Gear, I wouldn't say you had no say in how things were filmed, because of course you did. But what I mean is, having gone to Auto Trader, I imagine you have pretty much free reign to kind of say, okay, I want to film this car, I want to film it like this, and this is the angle I want to approach it at.
Yeah. No, it's exactly that. With Top Gear, you're very much part of a committee that decides on what the editorial will be, what cars you do. You sit down at the beginning of a series, you have a big Bible basically that has a list of cars and who's going to do what car.
Yeah.
But at Top Gear, it's me. It's stuff that's in my head, and I get to decide what I cover and how I cover it. And that is the main reason that. By the way, when Top Gear chose their new new TV presenters, I was still involved in the show. I was still meant to be doing extra gear. There was a project called Top Gear Electric, which I was meant to be involved with. But I chose to leave that. I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I decided that I wanted that freedom to be able to exercise my creativity and do the sorts of things that I wanted to do. So I recognized the opportunity to go to Auto Trader was massive, because it is one of the biggest automotive brands in the country.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it. Everybody.
I'm always an Auto Trader, whether I'm buying a car or not.
How long has it been going for? It's been going for time now.
Yeah, decades and decades. I can't think of the exact. It might be before any of us were born, but it's
I would have thought so.
It's ingrained in the fabric of everyone who's into
auto. And when obviously you were announced as the YouTube element to it, it just showed me that Auto Trader is seeing like the new generation of like digital media and stuff like that, and they're going with the times. They're not keeping back to what they were doing previously.
Yeah, definitely. They're doing a big push towards the next generation of people who are going to be into cars, and that's one of the big fundamental ideas behind this content. It is to be fun, it's to be current, it's to be interesting, and it's all shot beautifully. It's all like it doesn't take itself too seriously, but I think it's interesting. I've watched a bit of what Top Gear has become now, and I haven't watched an awful lot of it. but I think they've gone down much more of the entertainment route.
Oh yeah, of course,
Like,
yeah.
I've seen stuff where they're driving around spraying lube in their faces,
Yeah.
getting electrocuted while they're driving around the track and stuff like that. And that's definitely much more down the entertainment side. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to combine entertainment, but without that being
The main hub of what you're doing.
exactly. But while
It's
still
about the car you're in, not but keeping some sort of comedic value in it.
for me, we used to have this saying on Top Gear when it was me, Chris, and Matt. The car is the star.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still have that mantra. I don't know. Maybe maybe
the
the lube is the star now. I don't know. but that's still carries on to what I'm doing at Auto Trader. It's basically, it all comes down to telling people what cars are about, but doing it in a really interesting way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys caught my Ferrari 812 Superfast video.
Yeah.
I'm really ashamed to say I haven't got around to watching it yet, but I have watched a lot of the Auto Trader content. And to be honest, and no word of lie, that was one thing I was hoping to do today, but I was back at work. Today was one of those days where I had a lot planned for today. It was like, no, you got to come back in. It's like, well, I can't say no, can I? I've been off for 3 months.
True. Watch the Ferrari video, because that encapsulates what we're doing there.
Yeah.
I've heard it's good. I've heard it's very good.
It's a bit different to the norm. Like I'll let you people watch, just go check out the 812 Superfast video and let me know. Let me know what you think. Come to the channel, let me know.
Yeah, I remember the one video where you had an Alpha 4C. I don't know if you remember this, way back, and you were saying you wanted it so much. You had like a bag of like meat or whatever. It looked like guts. Yeah. And I always remember that video. That was
Those are my Recombu days. Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah.
That's why I ultimately got the Top Gear job, just being different.
Yeah.
Remember I told you there was like 15,000 people who applied for the job, and a lot. When it came down to it, most people could do the job, but when they tried to decide who it was that should be the one who got it, I think what they realized was that everyone was quite similar.
Yeah.
Including me to a certain extent, and they actually turned down everyone for the job. Everyone who applied, they said no one's getting it, and they called me back and they said, we're not going to give you the job. I said, who's getting it? And they said no one. And I was like, oh. Okay. So I was like, and I think I asked them why, and they said, oh, everyone's brilliant, but we can't decide. So I took that to mean everyone's good, but everyone's the same.
Yeah.
So I did a video that you might have known this one as well, but it's the poetry video with the Rolls Royce Ghost.
Yeah.
So I did that video rapping about a Rolls Royce, and I sent that back to the producers, and they called me up. Was it the same day or the next day? I think it was the next day. They called me up and told me that I've got the job.
Wow.
So it's like, again, and creativity has always been a big thing for me.
And you've shown that, 100%.
So that, and again, that's one of the reasons I've decided to move to Top Gear, because that allows me to exercise my creative freedom, and that's what I'm all about.
Yeah. I'm going to move on to. I'm going to test your car knowledge now. What's your favourite hot hatch been over the last 10 years?
I love a hot hatch.
I know you're a big hot hatch fan, and you can't say Focus RS.
What?
Why not? Why not?
Because I know he'll say it.
Why else?
I told you.
So you may as well say, what's your second favourite hot hatch then? That's what you're essentially asking. What's your silver medal?
Do you know what else do I like? I really like the Renault Megane RS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really clever cars.
I wasn't expecting that answer.
Yeah. Is it the 280?
You got the 280, you got the 300 trophy, and you got the Trophy R, which is like £73,000, which is crazy for a Renault.
So have you driven both though? Have you driven the 280 and the 300?
Yeah. They're both really good. It's much of a muchness. Because the thing about that car isn't the straight line performance. It's about the handling.
Yeah.
The handling is hilarious.
Makes great noise as well, actually.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah.
It sounds good. Yeah, but like the here on that thing is a joke. Go and I spoke earlier about dicing with the camera car. I had this moment where the camera car was going that direction and I was coming towards it, and we were meant to sort of meet, and I was going to turn and follow it. And as I turned, the tail just went around, and it was like fully lit sideways. And from that moment, I thought, yeah, I love this car. So that's good. I'm not that big a fan of the Civic Type R.
Right, that's it. Interview's over.
They're out. Yeah,
no. Why, Rory? Why? You know what? You know what you've just done. Can you hear that sound? That's the sound of my wife's heart breaking because she loves that car.
Yeah.
I hope you're happy, Rory. But no,
Yeah,
seriously,
I've actually owned a Mark III Focus RS, and I prefer the FK8 over it. Yeah.
The Type R is something else.
Why? But the thing is, why do you say you don't like it? Is it because of the looks?
No, I don't mind the looks. I just think it's a bit too serious. It's
Really?
like it's designed more for like
Lap times.
just brutal efficiency and lap times rather than like playfulness. And I think there's more playful hot hatches.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from.
I can understand that. Yeah.
I think when you get into a Civic Type R, you kind of get into this more serious mindset because you know that it's a very serious car. It looks silly, but it's a serious car.
It's also a car where you can push to whatever limit you can, but you can't actually find its limit because
exactly.
Exactly.
The limit is, especially on the public road, you're not going to find the limit basically.
No.
So for me, it's not as much fun. But some of the other hot hatches, like the Focus RS, you can dictate where the limit is in a Focus RS, especially with the drift mode, because it will power oversteer. So you can find the limit whenever you want. Which is one of the reasons that I love it so much, because it's like
but if you owned one, mate, I think your love for it would change.
Don't never meet your heroes.
Yeah, exactly right, mate.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go. I also like the Hyundai i30N.
Yeah,
that's a cracking car.
Yeah, I'll agree on that.
Yeah, that is a cracking car.
So those are my two, Megane, i30N.
I'm going to let Aaron ask a question now because I've kind of taken over a little bit.
No, it's all gravy, mate. It's all good. So this is kind of like a double-pronged question. So the first part of the question, and it's maybe difficult for you to answer on the spot because you're going to have so many choices, but bear with me. What do you think has been the most important or the most influential car that you've seen in your lifetime? Doesn't have to be a supercar, just in regard to something that's just changed the game completely.
I think you could make that argument for a lot of different cars.
I know, yeah. It's a tough question.
I think that's part of the problem, is that there are so many different cars that move the game forward at different times. You got things like the Model T. You know what I mean? It was an important car. Or the
That wasn't in your lifetime though.
Fair enough.
If it was, then you've done wonderfully well. I'd love to know.
You look good, mate.
To your jeans.
I moisturise.
Have you got that fountain of youth just outside your X5?
It's a tough one. Do you know what? What I would say to anyone who asks me that question, and people ask me it in different ways sometimes, but I would say that the most important car for you is the car, or the most important car, full stop, is the car that means the most to you.
Yeah.
And I would say that, and I don't know if this...
philosophical. It's quite a philosophical answer. I like it.
I don't know if this works, because it might not be in my lifetime. It's not. But the Chevrolet Corvette, it's not going to work. But the Chevrolet Corvette C3 is the car that got me into cars properly.
Right, okay.
So it was 1968.
I was going to say, mate, yeah.
They had later ones that were like late 70s, which would have been in my lifetime, but those were rubbish. It was the 1968 models, and those are the ones that got me into cars. Those are the ones that like lit a fire under me to basically get into what I'm doing now. So for me, in answer to your question, that is the most important car. The most game-changing car is the one that leaves the biggest mark on you as an individual and defines how you live your life around cars. But if you want the non-philosophical answer, you know what? Toyota Prius. Toyota Prius. And I'm going to tell you why. Oh no!
Say,
Yes.
please do, because
No,
I'm.
hold up. I'm going to bring it back. So, yes, it is the Prius because the first ever car. Listen, when I tried to get into the car industry as a journalist, I
Yeah.
was already doing tech. I was a pretty successful tech journalist, and I remember speaking to my boss and saying, "Listen, I want to get into. I want us to do cars." And in the end, after saying no a few times, he went, "All right, you can do it like 1 or 2 days a week."
Yeah.
So I was like, cool. And I rang around to various manufacturers and tried to get someone to lend me a car. And no one gave a damn, basically. They didn't know who I was and they didn't want to lend me a car because the industry is the industry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so what I did was I hired a Toyota Prius.
Oh my God, you hired one? Oh no.
And the reason I got a Prius was because I was either going to get an Aston Martin
Oh my God.
or a Prius. And I deliberately chose to hire the Prius. And I had budget as well. They were like, "What do you want, Rory? What do you want to get?" The Aston Martin was like $5,000 to hire it, and the Prius was like 100 quid. And I was like, "Listen, I'm going to get the Prius because the Prius is more current. The Prius has more new technology. It was like obviously a hybrid car, and hybrids.
Yeah.
This was the first wave in the hybrid Genesis. And I thought this is the car that makes most sense to test because of my tech audience, and it will allow me to show off what I can bring to the table to these people. So I hired the Prius, and then I put the video up, and it went nuts. Millions of people watched it on the channel. It wasn't YouTube, it was a website. And then I phoned up the manufacturers, and I said, "Listen, Toyota sent me a Prius, and I did this review of it, and they were like, "Oh, well, if Toyota's sending you a Prius, then we'll send him some cars."
Damn, I should try that.
So the Toyota Prius, it probably wouldn't work now.
No, not after this video's gone
Yeah,
out.
I think people have clocked on there. They're a terrible car.
So the Toyota Prius is the car that means the most to my career because it is the car that kickstarted my automotive career. So yeah, weren't expecting more, were you?
No, I wasn't. I'm still shell shocked. I can't even speak properly. Shell shocked. So the second prong of that question is arguably maybe more difficult to answer. Believe it or not, what do you think would be the most game-changing car, most important car in, let's say, the next 10 or 15 years?
It's going to be an electric car of some sort. It's going to be the car. I think it will be a Tesla. I think the next generation of Tesla is going to be the most important car. I think they've got such a head start on the rest of the industry, and I think they're working so hard on their battery tech. And there will come a point when electric cars become bigger than petrol and diesel cars, and that's coming soon. By the way, that's not like 15, 20 years.
Hopefully not too soon.
So do you really think that electric cars are the future, considering cars we've got now, you don't really need to maintain them? Like a fuel tank can go for decades. It's not
100%. They're on the cusp of a battery breakthrough right now, which will allow car batteries to last 1 million miles while only losing 10% of their capacity.
Yeah.
And that breakthrough will also allow them to have so much energy density that that electric cars will be cheaper than petrol and diesel cars to build. So, and that's happening in, I'd say within 5-10 years, the batteries in electric cars will allow electric cars to be cheaper than petrol cars. It won't be widespread because it'll be difficult. I think it'll be difficult to.
Well, you can see it already happening. Manufacturers are doing more electrified models, and you can see it coming. But I think for us, because we love petrol so much and combustion engines, it's kind of hard to get your head around that it's coming.
It won't be a choice. It won't be a choice. The legislation's already set up, and the technology is moving so quickly that trust me, it will happen. Like,
and it's interesting you say Tesla. You mentioned Tesla because I think it'll be like mainstream manufacturers like Porsche, Audi that will take over from Tesla. And
no, they haven't got the batteries. They haven't got the battery tech. They haven't invested in battery technology yet. If you try and buy any electric car from any big manufacturer right now, it's nearly impossible because they haven't got enough batteries. They can build the cars, but because they've been sleepwalking through the industry through the last decade or so, just concentrating on ICE.
Yeah.
combustion engine. They haven't developed their battery technology properly. So none of them have their own batteries. They're still sourcing batteries from other companies in places like China. So the company that succeeds and makes the biggest market share in electric cars is the company that is working hardest on the batteries, which is the most important thing. And the company that's working hardest on batteries right now, from a manufacturer standpoint, is probably Tesla. They've got the gigafactories, they've got a terafactory coming out shortly, and that's the stuff that makes the car move is the most important thing.
Do you feel that they'll corner the market? Because I'd imagine that Tesla will sell the technology and be the main provider for batteries to all manufacturers.
Probably not. I think Elon wants it for himself.
Mm.
I think he wants to dominate. So I think the plan is Tesla's the most valuable car company in the world right now. And how long have they been around?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
BMW, like it's nuts. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it plays out. I'm doing some work for Fully Charged show as well, so I'm doing electric car reviews for them. So I'm getting like a front row seat to it basically. I think it's going to be really interesting how it plays out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm yet to drive a Tesla. I really do want to because, I'm a big tech guy as well. So driving one of them would be pretty awesome, especially a Model 3. I'd like to give a Model 3 a go.
3 is good. It's a driver's car as well, believe it or not.
And in terms of comparing it against a 3 Series, because a BMW 3 Series is the most, I'd say, popular saloon car that people go for. In terms of it compared to a Model 3, what's your thoughts on it?
Model 3 all day. I wouldn't even think twice. If I was going to buy one, I'd get a Model 3.
Wow.
Easy.
And you've driven a performance one, a fully blown one, haven't you?
Yeah. It's...
Oh, we lost Rory. Oh, no.
Rory?
Oh,
I can see you, bro.
I think it's your own, Chris.
Oh, is it? Oh, no.
Stop using dial-up. I've told you this before.
Oh, yeah, it's saying my internet connection is unstable.
A bit like its user.
I've got 10% on this laptop, boys. So I don't know if you've got.
I think we've answered pretty much. I don't know if you've got anything else, Aaron.
Oh, well, I can speak to Rory all day, but
obviously, as well, but
obviously he can't live in his car for the foreseeable future, even in lockdown. So it's been an absolute honour to have you on, and I think in a moment I'm going to have to get my wife Patsy to pinch me just to make sure this has actually happened.
I'll get my missus to punch me in the head.
Tell her I said sorry about the that Civic.
Hopefully she may forgive you. In like 20 years.
I do like them. I just think they're too good. Tell her I said they're too good.
It's too good for its own good.
Apparently, but the facelifted one is even better, apparently. How they've managed to do that, I do not know.
Yeah. And apologies for taking so long to do this. I know it was...
mate, honestly.
2017.
Good
things are worth waiting for, my friend.
Yeah, no. And for me, mate, I really do appreciate it. Like, I'm a small YouTube channel. I try and juggle it around a full-time job and loads of other stuff. So having you on is, I just, honestly, I'm speechless you're even on here.
It's incredible. It really is.
My pleasure, boys. Listen, good luck with everything you do, yeah? Keep it up. And, never know. One day we might cross paths in person whenever they allow us to leave our homes. But,
let's hope so.
Grab a beer one day.
Yeah.
Brilliant, mate.
Beers are on me if we ever do, mate.
I'll remind you.
Well, that's a first, mate. I've never had Aaron offer me a beer before. Wow.
You're not Rory Reid, that's why.
Oh, damn it. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching, guys.
Especially to Rory. You so much.
Please check out Auto Trader because he's doing bits on it. It's absolutely mental what he's doing.
Really good content. Really good. I'm not just saying.
Video, which I will be doing tonight. I'll be having a burger while I'm watching that, mate. But if you've liked today's episode, please do leave a like, subscribe, comment, do all the good stuff. But until
you know the drill, guys.
Take care and thanks for watching. All the best.